live from the Nicholson School of Communication studio at the University of Central Florida. I'm Devin Cafaro. RTDNA presents the 2015 SGA presidential debate. We want to thank our co-sponsor, the SGA Election Commission. We also want to welcome everyone in our live studio audience and our viewers watching this debate live at home on Campus Cable Channel 734. You can also follow the debate on our Twitter feed. Our hashtag is KnightsVote15. Joining us in the studio, we have the current Speaker of the Senate, Cait, who is running for president, with the SGA Director of Communications, Jarrell Jones, running for vice president. Also joining us is the Governmental Affairs Committee Chair, Brian Zagrocki, running for president, with his running mate, Alex Bennett, the Executive Vice President of the Pan-Hellenic Council. In our last ticket, we have Lockheed Martin Business Development Analyst Richard Stein running for president, with his vice presidential candidate and business owner Mo Barhamji. Let's begin with tonight's rules. Each ticket will have up to 2 minutes to respond to questions. 1-minute follow-up questions can also be asked at the discretion of the moderator. We will also take student questions from Twitter. Now, let's get started. Cait and Jarrell, what makes your ticket the most qualified to be the next student body president and vice president?
Well, thank you guys for having us here tonight. I would definitely say that our platform is something that we've looked at over the years. We've kind of seen what has worked and what hasn't worked. We really want to make sure that they're all feasible platform points and that we actually can accomplish them within our time. So we know that our term would be short if elected, and we want to make sure that we can accomplish all those different things on our platform.
Jarrell?
Yes. Just as she said, we have many things we already have in the works for next year if we were to get elected. And our platform is very student-oriented and student-based, and we pretty much know what students want. We've been in SGA for the past 3 years, so we've seen what works and what hasn't worked, and also we've been involved around campus in many aspects. So I feel like we have a very good grasp on what we can do to improve SGA and also student life.
Thank you. And Brian and Alex, what about you? Why are you the most qualified for the job?
Yeah, I think what makes us most qualified is a combination of one, our background, and two, also our platform points. If you look at our background, one, I've been in Senate now, or in SGA for a really long time, almost 2 years, but Alex kind of complements that, and she brings that outside perspective. We also have a very diverse leadership background, too. If you're looking at our platform, specifically, we've looked at a lot of input from students, and then I've met with directors all across campus and given them those inputs and said, how can we get this accomplished for the students? So going back to kind of like what they mentioned, too, I think that our platform points are just as feasible, and that we really know how to get them accomplished for students.
Even though I do not have experience within SGA, with my position on the Pan-Hellenic Council, I've been able to help bridge the gaps between not only our council and other councils, but other organizations as well. And I think with Brian, we can really bridge that gap between the SGA and the student body.
Thank you. And Richard and Mo, what about you? Why do you believe your team is the most qualified?
I think it comes down to experience. Both Mo and I, we come from outside UCF. I was a risk analyst at Citigroup. Mo owns 2 businesses. So we have the perspective of the outside. We understand what employers are looking for, and we see where SGA and UCF is lacking. So we bring the perspective from the outside, and we want to bring it to the inside.
Just building on that, like Richard said, we both come from very diverse backgrounds. I think that we can bring a different take onto SGA, and I think that perhaps that's something the school needs right now.
Thank you. And moving in a new direction. Last year we saw pizza and food trucks, but this year will be the first presidential election where candidates cannot hand out free items while campaigning. We saw a more than 40% decrease in voter turnout during the Senate election. Do you think this will happen again, and how do you plan to motivate students to get out and vote? Richard and Mo?
I don't think this will happen again this cycle, and I think it's because of the energy involved in this campaign specifically. In years past, you have the traditional candidates, you have the same types of people running over and over again. This year there's change, there's differences, there's conflict, and all of those things combined creates a great voter turnout, and it really helps out democracy.
Just going off that, I think that with this cycle, we have a very diverse background, just like Richard said, just with all the candidates. And the pizza thing, that was just a marketing tactic, and I mean, Richard and I are finance majors. We bring marketing to the table. Our other candidates have done very well doing that as well. So I don't think necessarily that the pizza will that dramatically impede this year's turnout.
Thank you. And now, Brian and Alex, what about you? Do you think this will affect voter turnout, and how do you plan to motivate voters?
I mean, I certainly don't think so. I know a big thing and a big change for this year, and I'm so happy that we're not doing the pizza again. But a big change for this year is just making sure that voters are informed for who they're voting for. That is going to be the big push, going back to what they mentioned too in the marketing. I think all three of us are doing a great job in that area, and just making sure students are informed and then they're making an informed decision when they vote. That's going to be the change this year.
I think something else that has helped motivate them is I think we all are interested in making sure the students' input is heard, at least with Brian and I. That's a big thing for us. And I think making sure that they know they have a stake in it means a lot.
And what about you, Cait and Jarrell? Do you think this will affect voter turnout, and how will your campaign motivate students?
Well, I think we're all kind of on the same page with a lot of this. So this is actually the first presidential election that we haven't had food in, so I don't think we can really compare it to the Senate elections. Senate elections always have a lower voter turnout, just the hype and everything for Senate elections tend to be a little bit lower. Fortunately, I think the Election Commission has been working really hard this year to make sure that they will still have food and everything at the unbiased tent, so I think that's important to remember. So we've all been doing a great job, like everyone here has said, with going out there, talking to students, getting everyone excited. This is the first time in many years, at least the 4 years that I've been here, and I know a few years before that, that we've had 3 different tickets. And I think getting everyone excited and letting them know that so many people do care about the UCF students will make them more informed. I know that everyone's been out here talking to students for weeks now, and so everyone getting hyped up for that, and then they can still go and get food from an unbiased spot will make more informed voters, like everyone said. So I don't know if we can directly compare it to Senate elections, so it'll be interesting to see the first presidential election without food.
I believe with all the buzz going on with this election that students are more interested, and all of us have been out talking to students, informing them of our platform. So I know students are making a more informed decision, and they'll want to vote because there's 3 tickets, which hasn't gone on in a while. So it's more spark going on, and I believe they're more interested in what each candidate has to bring to the table.
Thank you, candidates. When we come back, we'll dive into each ticket's platform. In the meantime, get to know candidates Cait and Jarrell, why they say they bleed black and gold, and how their past experiences prepared them for this opportunity. Stay with us.
My name's Cait Zona, and I'm a junior here studying political science.
I'm Jarrell Jones. I'm a junior, and I'm studying business management and communications minor. We're just normal students, as I hope they see from this interview. We're just normal students who just happen to be really involved in SGA and want to make a difference and like unleash our legacy, just like we hope everyone else does.
I'm all about the people, not really the experience. So I could be like sitting in someone's car for 4 hours, but if I enjoy their company, I'd rather just do that.
I just go with the flow. I'm that type of person. So I have people call me and say, let's go to lunch, let's go to Winter Park, let's go downtown, let's go see like a DJ downtown, let's just do anything. And I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Definitely student government. So I tried to get involved my freshman year, started with Office of Student Involvement, and then that same year I joined Senate, and now I'm currently the Speaker of the Senate.
I'm mostly involved in SGA. I started in SBPAC, Student Body President's Advisory Council. I moved on to being marketing coordinator, and now I'm the Director of Communications.
I fell in love with the student union. So I was involved with student government in high school, really like doing philanthropic things, and Office of Student Involvement really got me when we came here. And I received a scholarship from UCF.
There's so many ways to get involved, so many things to do. There's like so many agencies, so many clubs. Like there's always something going on this campus, and that's what I enjoyed. And everyone pretty much came together as one, and it wasn't like cliquey or like anything like that. It was just, I just fell in love with it.
The main thing of why we hope to get everyone's votes would just be we stand for campus life and we stand for advocating for students.
One of the problems I see is a lot of students are unaware, and as Director of Communications, I've been trying to change that.
Welcome back to the 2015 Nicholson debate. Thanks for staying with us. Each ticket released a long list of platform points they hope to achieve if elected. Cait and Jarrell's platform can be found on their website at caitjarrell2015.com. Brian and Alex's website is newnight.com. And you can find Richard and Mo's platform at steinbarhamji2015.com. Now let's continue. The Orange County Sheriff's Office is investigating a strong-arm robbery that happened this morning in the Habaneros parking lot just across the street from campus. This comes after numerous break-ins, home invasions, and even an attempted rape this semester. And many students say they're concerned for their safety. What does your platform offer to improve safety, both on and either on or off campus? Cait and Jarrell.
Well, thank you for bringing this up. We actually had an interview last night with Channel 9 News, and this was a huge topic for us. So we do want to enrich the campus life, but like we said in our platform before, our main thing is advocating for students. So we want to make sure our nights are safe on campus and off campus first, and then we want to build on their experience. So my favorite part of the platform would be the your experience part. We want to sit down there and lobby, hear what students need. If they want UCF-PD off campus, we want to be able to work with Orange County, City of Orlando, and the UCF-PD right here to make sure that students feel comfortable and they feel like they're getting the response time they need and that they feel safe coming here. We want people in high school to look at UCF, and we don't want them to have to worry about these on-campus issues or things like that. We want them to see the great things and that UCF actually stands for opportunity and not have these things in the press. So we definitely want to reach out to students and build the gaps and make sure that our campus is safe.
We definitely care about the student body, and one of my favorite points is including more safety on and off campus, and also cameras in the parking garage and just increased lighting on campus. Like I said in the Channel 9 interview last night, I live at Plaza on University, which is right across the street, which is across from like Habaneros, and where a lot of the incidents have been taking place. So I'm a strong advocate for student safety, and I just want the students to know that we care and we are listening, and we just want to provide the best quality that we can for them.
Thank you. And just as a 1-minute follow-up question, you mentioned in that Channel 9 interview you would like UCF-PD to start checking in Orange County Sheriff's Office jurisdiction, checking where students live off campus. How exactly would you advocate for that? How would you like to mandate that?
Well, first we want to listen to the students. So like we said in the interview, there's a lot of on-campus or off-campus apartments that go all the way down Alafaya, that go all the way down University in different places. Some of them have said in the past, and there's been petitions on change.org and things like that from UCF students that feel that Orange County time, their response time is longer than UCF PD. So we want to make sure that if students want there to be more jurisdiction in those areas, even though it's technically Orange County, that we work with UCF PD. And we know that they have been responsive to that idea. It would take a little bit of time to go over the jurisdictions of everything, but we definitely think that's possible.
We would like to work on what the students will like. If they want us to move forward with getting UCF PD, that's something we want to definitely look into, because we would like faster response times even when we're not on campus. We want to make sure that students are getting the care and attention that they need, whether they're in class, in the union, or just at home.
Thank you. And now, Brian and Alex, what does your platform offer to help with student safety, both on or off campus?
Yeah, so this is a great question. And one of our biggest initiatives is actually that student well-being should be just as important for student success as academics is. And branching off of that, one of our platform points, again, is going safety. I think everyone kind of touches on safety just a little bit. A big thing for us, I know there's been a lot of talk about the cameras in the garages. We've actually done research into that as well, and there's been a petition for it too, and we highly support that petition. But something that you have to realize is that if you're going to make that kind of promise, you have to realize where the funding would come from. And a lot of the infrastructure for the garages right now simply can't support that without a large amount of funding, and that funding couldn't come from SGA. So realistically, we're trying to stick for something that's a little bit more realistic. We've done a lot of research. A big thing for us is better lighting around campus. There's areas of campus right now when it's dark, it's literally pitch black. I've talked to officers around campus, and they said that the biggest thing is having eyes on campus, meaning that if there's light there, there's a lot less of a chance for any kind of criminal activity to occur. That also branches off to off campus too. You just mentioned the Habaneros incident. That entire area around the Sterling Apartments area, that's something we're trying to focus on. It'd be lobbying the Orange County themselves for better lighting in that area. Also, going back to UCF PD, certainly we can have better collaboration between UCF PD and Orange County PD. But realistically, and then with the statement that they created as well, we're really going to have to be focusing on lobbying Orange County PD themselves, making sure that they have more appropriate response time in that area, and then also providing better lighting in that area as well.
Okay, and sorry, we ran out of time on that one, but for the next question, Richard and Mo, how do you plan to advocate for student safety either on or off campus?
I think as president, your number one responsibility is to represent the student body. You need to be honest with them, and you need to tell them the truth. I think time and time again, SGA gets caught into this thing where they say the solution is they'll talk to someone, or they'll lobby this, or they'll lobby that. And when you get into those scenarios, when you get into those situations, you promise crazy things. You promise things like land bridges that don't actually happen. So I really don't like the idea that, oh, my solution is to talk to someone, because that rarely ever actually happens. So Mo and I, we want to do a realistic approach. We want to stand for students' rights on campus, and we want to do everything in the President's authority to benefit them. One of our main platform points is a program to give students the ability to report harassment on campus. Yes, safety is important on and off campus, but SGA hasn't done anything right now to protect students' rights not to be harassed. You have these free speech zones that spew hatred at our student population, and SGA has just ignored this problem, and it's been going on for a long time. So we need to tackle the problems head on, and we need to do what's right for the student body.
I have to agree with Richard, obviously.
Thank you.
But like Brian said, there's not the whole cameras in the garage thing. It's a great idea. I love it. However, that's a lot of money for every single garage. I mean, if you've ever looked into security systems, it's pretty expensive. I don't think that's necessarily a feasible idea through the SGA budget. There might be a way to petition for that, like you said. However, I don't think it's feasible for us to streamline as candidates. And as for UCF PD going out to the Habaneros area and whatnot, that might be a possibility, but that wouldn't be directly related to SGA. That'd have to be lobbying done through Orange County. We'd have to work with UCF police, which we're obviously not opposed to. We're all for streamlining as much safety as possible, but we're also opposed to BS and telling you something that we can't and can't do. And I think that I'm just going to leave it at that.
Thank you. And you mentioned you wanted to open a venue for students to report harassing. How exactly would you do that? How much would it cost? And what would be the repercussions for people who do the harassing?
It's a really simple program. We want to have a portal on the SGA website. We just want to give these students the ability to create a formal record, because I think it's awful that women can't even walk to the library right now without getting called derogatory terms. That doesn't help student success, and that doesn't help, the overall environment of safety. If you really want to create a good image for UCF, don't have tours going by the library and you have crazy white guys calling women terrible names. That's not good for a UCF image, and that's not good enough for us. So what we'll have is a portal on the SGA website. You say, hey, on this date, this guy called me these names. You create a formal record, you go to President Hitt and say, hey, this guy is harassing our students. It's not free speech. We want him off. That's what we'll do.
We'd like to call that the BS Commission.
Thank you. And now moving on, Richard and Mo, if elected, how do you plan to strengthen the relationship between students and SGA?
I think it comes down to being frank with the student body. The only reason Mo and I are on this stage is because we saw a disconnect with SGA. We felt that as students, we weren't being heard. So we realized that if we were going to complain about it, then we would have to do something about it. So that's why we're here on the stage, because we want to finally stand for students. We think it was wrong that they changed the credit hours on all the business majors. We think it's wrong that they closed down the garage during finals week because they wanted to power wash it. We feel like we're being ignored by SGA, and we're finally going to listen.
Just to build off of that, prior to running, I viewed SGA as this little bubble that I, as a student, had really no idea what was going on inside. And as me and Richard got into this whole running,
this entire
environment, we tried to find out more information on what's going on, what previous senators and whatnot have voted for, and what kind of policies are currently in place. And when we go on the SGA website, it's very hard to follow what's on there, what kind of policies people have voted for.
To put in perspective, I did financial risk analysis for Citigroup, reviewing $500 million accounts. And that was easier than looking at the SGA budget right now.
I'm sorry, I need to cut y'all off. Y'all went over time.
No problem.
But thank you for that. Brian and Alex, how do you plan to strengthen the relationship between SGA and students?
Yeah, it's a great question. And again, that goes off another one of our major initiatives. We've been saying literally since day one that we think that there is a disconnect between SGA and the rest of the student body. And a big thing for us is that if elected, our administration, we'd make sure that by the end of our administration, every single student would feel connected in some way to SGA and also feel like their input is heard. So your question is directly, how do we make that happen? A lot of it comes around to streamlining the services that we offer. I think that's something that they've been talking about too, and we're definitely behind that. Another big opportunity for us is just making sure that students can have their input heard in SGA. One thing would be something online ability for that. Another thing is a phone hotline. And third, we want to have monthly town hall meetings where students can come to these meetings, they can ask us any questions. It allows for accountability and transparency.
I think he pretty much just said it all.
Thank you. And Cait and Jarrell, what about you? How do you plan to strengthen the relationship between SGA and students?
Well, thankfully, I've had the privilege of being in student government with Jarrell for 3 years. So under 3 different administrations, we've seen what has worked and what hasn't worked. And I think the only way to truly get into a position and make changes in a small amount of time, of less than a year, would be to know, like I said, what has worked, what hasn't worked, the outlets to go through. So as soon as we take office, with our prior knowledge, we'll know exactly who to go to. We already have connections being made. So our platform is definitely all feasible. The great thing about student government is, as student body president, you sit on the board of trustees. You can go out there and lobby. That's the whole entire point, is why we want it to run is a student body president and vice president should be 2 things. You should be standing up for your students, and that means going and talking in Tallahassee, going and talking to Washington, D.C., and then enriching your campus life. And that's exactly what we stand for. So all the things that we've said can definitely be done. Just since I've been in Senate, we've been trying to be as transparent as possible, and that's something we definitely stand for. So we had a roundtable discussion where myself and Jarrell were actually present not too long ago with different news outlets. We've made sure that Senate voting records are online under the voting forms, and we actually use electronic voting now to try to make sure things are as transparent as possible. We know in the past that SGA's had problems, but we are a new university, and you have to kind of try things out first and know what works and doesn't work. So we believe that seeing the things in the past will only make us stronger candidates for the future because we know how to better those things and things that we should change.
As Director of Communications, I've worked my hardest to make sure that SGA is being as transparent as possible and reaching as many students as we can. We've gotten more likes on our Facebook, we've gotten better feedback, students have been asking us questions, and I've reached out to students in RSOs, students in sports clubs, and we even tabled at the Rosen campus to get a view from students who aren't on the Orlando campus. So I believe that from what we've know and what we've learned, that we can better connect with students because it takes time to build these things up, and over time, from the past year administrations I've sat on, I've seen the progress that SGA has made. What we can do is try to target one student at a time and not try to go at the whole masses, because I've noticed that students like things that are personal, and that's what we've been doing. When we table, we go out and we talk to students. We hand them palm cards, we hand them flyers. We try to get them to come to us, and we also try to go to them.
Thank you. And now the next question. What does your platform offer for registered student organizations? Cait and Jarrell, and we have 1 minute for this one.
Okay, so I'll try to make this quick as possible. Currently, I'm the Speaker of the Senate, so I work with all the 500 plus organizations. So we really want to make sure that we're reaching out to each one of them. They're all important, they're all leaders, they're all making their legacy here at UCF. So the Resource Center has been underway for a while now. We've both seen the behind the scenes things with that. We want to make sure that we can start that off right away and make sure we grow these leaders. If they grow into agencies, if they grow into different parts of campus, that's what we want to do. So we want to make sure they're building their legacy and then they're leaving UCF with opportunities. It comes down to networking, building a base here at UCF. So streamlining the process. Right now, we just put the funding things for RSOs on their Night Connect page so they can say, okay, there might have been a turnover in our RSO for officers, but this is how much money we received last year through Senate. This is when we should come in this year. And that will build connections for conferences, for on-campus events, and that directly impacts the students that aren't even in these RSOs. So we'd like to continue that.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Brian and Alex, how do you plan to help registered student organizations?
Yeah, I mean, I think going back to kind of what they mentioned too, definitely the RSO Resource Center is going to be a huge push for us. I actually talked with the student union director about it and implementing it, and he had a lot of great suggestions for it, so I think it's definitely something that SGA can get fully behind. Outside of that, I think it just goes down to promoting what RSOs do. She mentioned that there's over 600 organizations now, and they all provide different services for students. So making sure that at the onset, working with orientation and making sure students are available of what these RSOs are and the services that they offer, making sure that they get involved from the start. Again, one of our biggest initiatives is talking about student success. Everything about SGA should go back to that one criteria. How do we as SGA promote student success? Being involved is one of the #1 determinants of how you'll be successful in college and also after college. So again, promoting RSOs, making sure that they have that resource center, making sure that they have access to all the resources that we do in Senate and elsewhere, and just better streamlining our services in SGA so they have access to it.
Another thing that we're looking into is creating an ambassador program to better connect the RSOs with SGA so they are a little more clear on what they're offered.
Thank you. Now, Richard and Mo, how do you plan to help registered student organizations?
You know, to all those RSO leaders out there, I want to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're not being heard right now. I've never talked to a single RSO leader which said, yeah, the funding process, it's easy. Or yeah, I feel like I'm heard from SGA right now. They say that they have to fight for every nickel and dime that they get from SGA, and they said that there's total disconnect right now. So what would I do for you? I would get rid of Night Connect. I would change the entire system of how we finance these RSOs, and I would make sure that you're finally heard on an SGA level. We talked to RSO leaders out there and they said, yeah, there's SGA and there's us and there's no connection. There's no thing that connects us to the funding. And that's really sad considering that, as they agreed, RSOs, their involvement, that's what makes our university great. And I don't think SGA really recognizes that right now.
Speaking of funding for RSOs, one of our primary objectives would be to try and reform the current way that RSOs receive and then give back fundings that they do not use. We actually just learned that there's some very long procedure involved where if RSOs don't use a certain amount of money, it gets returned, and then it takes 6 months or something like that to process by the bank. That sounds like a ridiculously long amount of time just to process a refund.
Okay, thank you guys. Sorry, it's been a minute. And thank you, candidates. We'll be right back for the 2015 Nicholson debate. In the meantime, find out what both Brian and Alex's favorite UCF memories are and why they say they make the dream team. We'll be right back.
My name is Richard Stein. I'm a finance major graduating in May 2016 with a minor in political science.
My name is Mo Barhamji. I'm a finance and biotechnology double major.
So we stand for the average student, maybe the guy or girl who isn't involved with SGA but still deserves rights. They still deserve the opportunity to be heard, and they deserve for SGA to represent them. That's the type of students we're fighting for, and that's what we stand for. As some people may notice by now, I like using humor. So I like, watching stand-up comedy. I've written a few screenplays.
Yeah, I'm a fighter, and I weightlift as well. I'm pretty heavy in both of those.
I was involved with the Student Advisory Council for Counseling and Psychological Services. I've also been involved with the Democrat Club and the Republican Club.
Well, I was actually involved with a bacteriology research for 4 years. I actually did it in high school as well. It was an internship that carried on into college. I am a published researcher through that. That took up a lot of time. Very well.
Yeah, we're both really intelligent people, and we're good at brainstorming together for good ideas.
Absolutely. We're a little bit above average in other areas in that we get a lot of out there ideas, and they tend to work typically, especially when we bounce ideas off of each other. So we work very well.
Yeah, I think it's the unity and the fact that we're just average students who are tired of the bullshit, and we're motivated by that aspect, and that's really the fire in us.
We'll do whatever it takes to fix anything. We're that kind of person. We'll persevere. We'll do whatever it takes, whenever.
Yeah, so I think the best way to feel and actually understand the night energy, as I call it, is just talking with kids on the street. Going past what their majors are and just having a conversation with the average student.
We're back live in the Nicholson School of Communication studio with the 2015 SGA presidential debate. Now let's talk money. Students currently spend $11.67 per credit hour for the activity and service fee budget. SGA then allocates this money to what they believe will benefit the student body. Records show that last year SGA spent almost $4,000 on an executive retreat where the president and his cabinet members enjoyed 2 days of catered meals and a stay in the Saddlebrook Resort. Do you think this is a beneficial use of student money, Cait and Jarrell?
Well, this year I've actually had the privilege of being the Activity and Service Fee Vice Chairman as well as the University Fee Committee Chairman. So I've gotten to see where the actual money's coming from the university fee side, and then I've got to sit with different student leaders in the Activity and Service Fee and allocate the different monies. So we've seen great, tremendous strides with how we actually are doing the budgets. So I think that having the students come in and say exactly what they want is very beneficial. So speaking on the executive cabinet retreat, I obviously was not in attendance as I'm a part of the legislative branch, but I think that goes down to what each person sees fit. So we're not questioning different agencies and what they're doing with their programmings in their retreat. If they see that's fit and that helps their cabinet, I don't want to speak on their behalf. I just respect every single night, and if they felt like that benefited their cabinet, if that really got them to brainstorm what they wanted to do for the year, then I would let them speak for themselves. So I know Jarrell was part of the cabinet.
Mm-hmm. As we've said, we've seen 3 different administrations, and everyone does things differently. And that's why if we were to be elected, we will take matters in our own hands and decide what will be the best thing to do for our cabinet, because we'll be the leaders of it, so we'll be able to make those decisions.
So coming from a Senate background, I would say that there's different things we could do things. So Senate in the past also had different types of retreat, and as under me as speaker, we actually stayed on campus. We did the Rec and Wellness Center Challenge course, and this was very beneficial. So it was an early morning for all senators, but it did not cost any money from student dollars. And we are going to cater a small leadership seminar and go over things, but that's only a few $100s. So I think there's definitely alternatives. It just depends on the needs for the students. So other agencies also take retreats. So.
Thank you. And now, Brian and Alex, do you think this executive retreat is a beneficial use of student money?
I mean, I would have to say, first of all, I'm president of an organization and we take our own retreats, and I would say that retreats are invaluable for leadership training, making sure that you bond as a unit. Something that I've always stressed with my team is that we work as a team, meaning that even if we debate behind closed doors, when we present ourselves to other people, we have to make sure that we present ourselves as a team for the students. So going off of that retreat, I think there's invaluable processes that happen there. Spending $4,000 on a retreat, that's probably a little irresponsible. Going off our platform, a big thing for us is responsible leadership, and going off that is fiscal responsibility. So again, making sure that this is all student dollars. Like you said, $11.67 of every single credit hour that you guys take here comes into activity and service fee, and that's literally our SGA budget. I know Zona also mentioned that she's a part of the activity and service fee. She's the vice chair of it. I'm also part of the activity and service fee, so I also have a really good idea of how we allocate money and where the money goes. So, you know, I think looking back on it, this is easily something that we could fix in the budget, being more responsible about where we spend our money.
I think Brian makes a good point. I think a retreat is probably a very valuable process for an executive board to go through, but I think it probably could have been done for a less amount of money.
Thank you. And Richard and Mel, what do you think? Do you think this is a beneficial way to spend thousands of student dollars?
Keep it short, no. I think it's wrong that they use our student dollars to go to this fancy resort. I hope Jarrell liked it. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go to that. So I think it's wrong that they use our funds for their enjoyment. Now, you hit the beginning of the iceberg, and that's really where our funding, where does it go with SGA? I was doing some research, and I found that the president has the executive authority to reallocate funds from the SGA budget. So yeah, they can be a part, they can have an advisory role, but at the end of the day, the president still has the executive authority to reallocate funds throughout the SGA budget. And I think that's the bigger issue right now, and that's something that we need to address.
I think Richard touched on pretty much everything. All I want to say is I pay for my own vacations. I'm not trying to pay for someone else's. I'd prefer if my money was used a little more wisely. And thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Next question. In previous administrations, sometimes we see platform points that don't get accomplished. Some students say they blame this on financial obstacles. That being said, what do you think will be the hardest platform point to implement, and how do you plan to face that challenge? Richard and Mo?
You know, honestly, all of our platform points, because we come from a business perspective, we know how to take a realistic approach in what we promise. So we haven't promised anything outlandish. One of the major programs that we do want to implement is a program called My Alumni, which links students to alumni as mentors. So just like you would go on my.ucf.edu and you sign up for courses, you would be able to sign up for mentoring groups sponsored by alumni. So that might not be financially hard to do, but it might be a challenge to get that network up and running. But with Mo's background in website development, I know we can accomplish that.
And just to give you a quick projection, we've actually already looked into this. We've talked to the Alumni Center about doing this. It's a pretty cheap operation. It shouldn't cost, in terms of just developing, any more than $1,000, if that. The only trick would be networking, but as UCF is the second largest school in the nation, our alumni network is very large, so that shouldn't be much of an issue either.
Thank you. And Brian and Alex, what do you believe will be the hardest platform point to accomplish, and how do you plan to face that challenge?
So I know that in the past, and I think it's just year in and year out, but specifically presidential elections, there's always a hot button issue. And I think presidential candidates really try to jump on that bandwagon and make promises to students that they can't necessarily follow up with. I know the past year it was probably the bridge over Alafayette University, if we can remember that. The year before that, it might have been the 24/7 gym hours, I'm not really sure. Actually 2 years ago. But again, every single year there's some kind of platform points, and everyone's trying to get students to vote for them, but not necessarily can back up their research. So I think if you look at our platform, something that we're really proud of, going back to, again, that I've met with directors all across campus, all of our platform points are completely feasible. Some of them might be a little bit harder, specifically talking about parking efficiency. I know that parking is just a huge input that I've received from students. There's always problems with it. I hate it too, I understand. And a big thing for us, we actually talked to different directors and we said, how can we address this issue? And they said, well, realistically, we can't build any more parking garages. We simply don't have the infrastructure And we also don't have any more room on main campus right now to be building more garages. So I said, okay, well, can we make it more efficient for students? And he said, absolutely. So we're looking at different areas, making it more accountable, using an application through your phone. There was actually an application being developed at one of the colleges in New York. It's really cool. And in the test run, 19 out of 20 times, it was able to determine where open spots were on a campus. So we want to integrate that. We want to help develop it through SGA, provide that free for students. Again, it's just coming up with innovative ideas for the problems that students have, making sure that we can back it up with director support across campus.
Like you said, I think one of the most important aspects of our platform is that we have met with all of the student directors and we know we've been told what is possible and what's not, and we've made sure to include all possible platform points.
Thank you. And just as a 1-minute follow-up, bringing that app to UCF, integrating it, how much do you think that will cost?
I mean, realistically, it's going to cost hopefully not that much. That'd be something that we'd have to look at for the activity and service fee budget for the following year. Again, if we develop it ourselves through UCF, we actually have our own department for that. That'd be something that we could look at, and that'd probably be at little cost at all to students. If not, if we were looking to partner with the college in New York, again, that's something that I'm looking at as well. This is just a much more cost-efficient option than choosing to build more parking garages or expand upon the ones we do have. So that's why we're choosing this option. It's not something that is grandiose or is too unbelievable that it couldn't get accomplished easily within a term of a president.
Thank you. And now, Cait and Jarrell, what do you believe will be the hardest platform point to accomplish, and how do you plan to face that challenge?
Well, I know we just talked about platform points that haven't been accomplished in the past. With our experience in student government, we've seen the behind-the-scenes things. So I know the bridge got brought up, but actually we did a lot of research, and there was different committees to see if the bridge was possible, how those things came up. There are also comments about parking garage cameras, and we would never ask that student dollars would be taken to put towards those things. That's why you are a student government, and that's why you lobby on behalf of those things. So there was a committee for the bridge, and they felt that it was not possible through Orange County, through the city of Orlando. You'd actually have to do 2 bridges, and I'm not going to bore you with all the great stuff, but I think those huge platform points are just showing the passion for UCF. You see one main problem, and you have a lot of little things. So our platform doesn't cover every single thing that we want to touch on, but ours would definitely be the safety. The safety is our huge hot button issue, but that's because we can't really affect all of it. We can definitely lobby on behalf of the students, and that's not really not accomplishing something, that's just making sure we reach out to the right avenues. We have talked to all the same people, and not as presidential candidates as our positions now, because we have been through these processes, and as our positions we have seen what hasn't worked and what has worked. So it would definitely be the safety for us, and that's just making sure that we are having community members on board, because we can only affect the nights that we see right now.
Definitely the safety, because although we only have cameras in the parking garage, there are many things we want to accomplish to ensure that our nights are safe. It's increased lighting on campus, increased police force on and off campus. So that'll be something that will take time, and but we hope we'll be able to accomplish it.
And the lighting on campus is the same thing as the parking garages. The infrastructure is different for the parking garages. Some are newer, and some do already have the cameras set up. We just have to make sure that we're holding people accountable. We stand for the It's On Us campaign, the different safety aspects of the change.org and the different petitions like that. So it's definitely all possible.
Thank you. And next question, we only have 1 minute for this one. If elected, what is the very first platform point you'll speak about with your cabinet and begin implementing?
I think one thing that the cabinet can already start working on, I really stand for the lobbying aspect, but we really have a new point called Nitro's Suits. So they have Nitro's Pantry, Nitro's Closet, and those are 2 great things, but we want to make sure that we actually are standing for opportunity, and something that's really feasible is bringing Nitro's Suits. So it'd be a rental system for suits that people can go to internship fairs, interviews, and things like that, and we could turn that around fairly quickly so that students see that we already accomplished one platform point and that we're actually here for them to make networking, to become alumni, to be successful, and to really unleash their legacy.
Definitely inclusivity between our campus and the regional campuses and RSOs here on our main campus. I just want students to know that we do care for them. So as soon as, if I am elected, I will reach out to RSOs. I will make sure that our Director of Communications continues with that as well.
Thank you. And now, Brian and Alex, what is the very first platform point you'll start working on with your cabinet if elected?
Yeah, so again, going back to one of our major initiatives, we strongly believe that student success is extremely important. That's the criteria we should be basing SGA off of. So a big thing for us is student well-being as well. One of our, I think probably our biggest and most challenging platform points besides parking, and something that I'd want to work on from the day one ground running, is making sure that we can expand the health center to the weekend hours. If you look at the statistics, over the quarter of the students here at UCF don't even have health insurance still. So it's a big opportunity that we're missing to have that health center open on the weekend hours. I think that would be a huge opportunity for them. Another thing I think Alex might want to touch on too is, I know it was mentioned regional campuses, and of course we think that's great too. That's a great idea as well. A big thing for us would be providing transportation from regional campuses to all the major events at UCF, including Nighthon, Homecoming, and et cetera. So making sure that even though if you're not on main campus, you still feel part of the UCF culture.
And thank you, Richard and Mel. What about you? What will be your very first platform point?
I think holistically, our first thing that we're going to do is just stop all this, hypothetical nonsense talk. We're going to start off being frank with you. We're going to tell you exactly what we're going to do. First one's My Alumni. We're going to start off with that program. We're going to implement it, first few months if we can. We're so tired of having people tell us, oh, we might do this, we might do that. I think it'd be cool if we talked to that guy. No, we need to act now. We need to act the very first day, and it needs to be a priority. With expanding hospital hours, Mo worked at a hospital. If you expand hospital hours during non-peak demand periods, that's going to cost a deficit for that facility. So then how are you going to pay for that? How would you pay for that? How would you pay for expanding bus routes when the SGA budget is already underfunded? We need to end this talk, and we need to act.
As a biotech and finance double major, one of the biggest problems anyone in our field faces is getting an internship in that respective field and gaining experience prior to graduating. And so that's what My Alumni would accomplish, and that's what I think UCF should provide for the students.
Thank you, candidates, and thank you to our viewers at home for staying with us. When we come back, we'll take to social media questions. But right now, find out how Richard and Mo like to spend their free time and how they plan to represent the student body. The Nicholson debate will be right back.
My name is Brian Zagraki. I am currently a junior here at UCF. I am pre-law. I have been in SGA now for almost 2 years. I've been on the executive board since I've been a part of that. I'm also president of my fraternity, and I'm also on the executive board for President's Leadership Council.
My name is Alex Bennett. I am a junior here at UCF, and currently I'm the executive vice president for the Panhellenic Council.
Just I don't know how it goes after that. There you go. I would probably have to say my PLC retreat, probably the first retreat. I wasn't really expecting, I had no idea what it would be. I was so nervous. Being a part of the President's Leadership Council, you really have no idea what to expect, to be honest. It's just such a huge council and a huge honor. And when I got on the bus and I sat down, I met my first person in the council. His name was Todd, and we just got to talking. And I realized that I could actually make a lot of friends here. And just throughout the entire experience, I had a blast. We got to know one another.
Probably move-in day, my first summer semester here at UCF. I ended up meeting my best friend. We were two completely different people, but we fell in love with each other. We were everywhere around campus all summer. We explored everywhere, and it really made me fall in love with the school.
Besides the fact that I think that we make a great team, what up? We have a couple of really great goals that I think is going to resonate a lot with students.
Since I am part of the bigger majority of people that aren't necessarily involved with SGA, I feel like I have a better understanding of what students want and what they care about.
That was candidates Brian and Alex, and welcome back to the Nicholson debate. We're here live with the candidates running to be your next student body president and vice president. The first half of this segment is dedicated to answering questions posted by students on Twitter. Let's continue with a question for all three tickets. Maria Laporto wants to know, what will you do differently than past presidents if elected? Let's have Cait and Jarrell take this one.
I think the main thing that we have talked about that we'd like to try to kind of change would be the type of cabinet we have. So some administrations have a larger cabinet, some have a smaller cabinet, and we definitely think that the more student input is better. So we would kind of like to expand the cabinet. It doesn't come from any different funds or anything like that. So as speaker, we have a certain amount for legislative assistant, and I chose 2 different people and split the hours and everything in the roles so we can have as much student feedback as possible. So everyone comes to the table with different opportunities, different experiences, and different insights. So we definitely want to change some things and add different positions, like a diversity initiatives coordinator, and change some things where we're connecting with students that are currently not represented in the cabinet. So that would be my main thing.
Definitely. We would like to reach out to as many students as possible, have a very diverse cabinet so students can know that they are being represented. With the Diversity Initiatives Coordinator, we'll pick someone who we know has a vast knowledge of the campus so we can make sure that every race, sex, age, just all over the board is represented.
Thank you. And now, Brian and Alex, how will your administration differ from previous administrations if elected?
Yeah, I think just hitting on a very common theme. Again, if you're looking back at past platforms, they haven't been necessarily realistic. So I think a big change from our administration, if we do get elected, to past administrations, but again, being that we have realistic platforms, we know how to accomplish them. Going back to the cabinet issues too, we actually talked about creating our own diversity coordinator as well. It's actually something that was in place a couple of years ago, and then for whatever reason it was taken out. So again, bringing that back, that'd be a huge step for us. I met with different directors, including one of the directors that is specifically involved with diversity, and we talked about being able to make student services, specifically SGA services, more inclusive for diverse students. So that would be a really big push for us as well. That's kind of a major change for us, though, is again realistic platforms.
I think diversity is a big aspect that we'd like to focus on, making sure that every background is represented.
Thank you. And now, Richard and Mo, how will your administration differ from previous ones if elected?
I think for the first time ever, you would have people from the outside with perspective on how the real world works bring it into the SGA office. So what would we do differently? One, reform the entire way that our finances are done in SGA. I brought it up once, I'll bring it up again. The president should not have the executive authority to reallocate funds. I think that should change first off. Second, I think it's important that your record is a demonstration of who you are, and I want our record to show through our president, through our legacy. So I want to be held accountable, and I think accountability starts right now. I think you should review the legislation records, you should review the SGA accounts. I know it's difficult, but you need to go on and you need to see where our senators stand right now, because that's a prediction of how they're going to lead. And when you look at those facts, none of these platform points that they're proposing have they ever introduced in Senate, have they ever introduced through SGA. So first and foremost, transparency.
I agree with transparency as well, but also as a business owner, Richard and I have looked through every single one of our platform points. We've developed them after a lot of research, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that every single one of our platform points is feasible, can be done within the year that we'd be in office, and we would definitely go above and beyond attempting to do so.
Thank you. And now we're coming close to the end of the debate, and we want to close with a question that brings out the best in our beloved university. What is your favorite UCF tradition and why? Richard and Mo?
I think best university tradition that I like is the experience of the football games. Coming together as a school, standing up for the teams we support, and coming together and actually overcome obstacles. Our UCF team at one point, they were the underdogs, and now we're one of the national champions. And I think that's a story that UCF loves, and I think that's a tradition that Mo and I would like to continue.
I have to agree with Richard on that. I'm going to be completely honest. I love tailgates. Probably one of my favorite parts of going to college, and I'm going to stick with that.
And how would you like to continue that tradition?
Well, I mean, it's not difficult to continue tailgating. But yeah, I'm going to leave it at that.
Thank you, candidates. And Brian and Alex, what is your favorite UCF tradition and why?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is specifically for me, but definitely I'd have to agree with them. The football games are absolutely amazing. Going back to just being the underdog a couple of years ago, and then we were able to win that bowl appearance. It was just absolutely amazing. We felt like you were part of an entire school, and that's the kind of school spirit that we want to bring to SGA as well. Part of our platform is that we want to implement an entire new school spirit day. It'd be once a month, and it'd be focused around the actual game days. We'd be handing out free material. Everyone would be wearing school spirit. It'd be involving nitro, things of that nature, and just making sure that we're pushing people to the games, because I think that's something that's lacking, not just school spirit, but attendance at these games. So if we can encourage people to get more involved with the kind of school-spirited events that we have through SGA, that'd be huge for us. So I definitely have to say, definitely our games.
I'd have to say definitely Spirit Splash. I thought everyone was going to say that one. I just love seeing all the spirit that all of the students bring that day. Everyone in the pond. I have yet to catch a duck. Still hoping for next year. Fingers crossed. We'll see.
Thank you. And Cait and Jarrell, what is your favorite UCF tradition and why?
We actually shared this in one of our interviews, but mine would definitely be Nighthon. So my freshman year, I wasn't able to attend because my brother was actually in Arnold Palmer, so that automatically resonated with me. So last year I was there, and then we're really excited to attend this year. So Nighthon, looking around and seeing so many diverse students. So you have student government, you have Greek life, you have RSOs, you have students that just care and they want to spend 20 hours standing up. And I mean, it's tiring. I like getting on someone's back and not having to stand up for a little bit, but it's definitely something where you can see people come together and affect the outside community. And I think that can be really taken to a whole nother level of showing that Knights care about the community and we want to give back. So that's my favorite thing.
Yes, definitely Nighthon. I think it's great how we all can come together as a school and raise an immense amount of money for the student, for the Arnold Palmer, Winnie Palmer, and Shands hospitals. And Nighthon is such a great event. And I've met so many people and I've heard so many miracle stories that have affected me and makes me want to make a change in my community.
Thank you, candidates. And just one final question. If elected, how do you want UCF students to remember your administration? Yes, Cait.
Okay, perfect. I was waiting for that one. So I would definitely want to stick with our campaign slogan, so unleash your legacy. So we want to make sure that first we're enriching people's experience. We want to make sure that we're letting students know we care about their textbook costs, their excess credit hours, their different things that affect them every single day, so tuition, costs like that, going up to Tallahassee, and then enriching their campus life. So we want to make sure when they leave here, they're like, heck yes, I went to UCF and I want to come back and I want to donate. So our alumni base right now is kind of young, and that's something that I think we could improve upon, but you need to do that by, one, unleashing your legacy and making your mark here at UCF, whether that's through Greek life, athletics, student organizations, or anything like that. We just want to be the regular students that do have SGA experience, but can push things through because we know what has and hasn't worked. So
I definitely want students to remember us as, like you said, those regular students who are there for them. I'm not trying to lie to anyone, and we're not trying to come up with outlandish platform points that we can't accomplish. We are real students here, and we want them to know that we go to class. We are just normal people who just want to do great things for our UCF community.
Thank you. And Brian and Alex, what about you? What legacy would you like your administration to leave behind if elected?
I think that going back to our slogan again, it's a new day, a new night. It really, I think that I'd want it to be that we ushered in a whole new change for SGA. Going back to one of our biggest initiatives, the fact that there is this disconnect between SGA and the rest of the student body, I'd want to be known as the candidates that were, or hopefully the president and vice president, they're able to bridge that gap between SGA and the student body, make sure that it feels relevant, you feel like your input is heard, you feel like the service that we provide really and truly do better student success here at UCF.
I have to agree with Brian. I think making sure that students are more aware of what SGA offers them, and so they're able to get the most out of their college experience.
Thank you. And Richard and Mo, what about you? What legacy would you like to leave behind if elected?
I'd like to leave behind the legacy of change. You know, from the outside, we see that SGA is broken and we're here to fix it. I don't understand how you can admit that SGA is not working effectively when you're from SGA. So we want to be known as the candidates that came in, that cleaned up, and got the job done.
Richard and I, we actually support ourselves with our own income, and we're full-time students as well. And I know a lot of other students are in the exact same boat as we are. And what I'd really like for the entire student body to remember from our administration is that we were the administration that stood for the students, that made every single decision with the students in mind, and that we speak for the benefit of every single student out there at UCF.
Thank you. And that was our last question, but now we want to let y'all have a chance to give your closing statements. Richard and Mo, what would you like to say?
I just want to say thank you for the positive feedback. I'm sure you guys can see that it's hard as a third-party candidate not to be involved with this SGA political machine going up through our own. So we want to thank you for the support. We want to thank you for standing for us. And we want to promise right now that if you stand up for us on March 30th, we'll stand for you in office.
Pretty much have to agree with Richard. Thank you for having us. We will stand for you. We hope you vote for us. Thank you.
Thank you. And Brian and Alex, what would you like to say?
Yeah, I mean, we'd like to say thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate you listening to, I think, all three tickets and what we have to offer. I think a big thing for our closing remarks is we just want to make sure that the student body is informed on all the issues and informed on all three tickets and what we offer. Like you said, going back to the beginning of this debate, we talked about how there's no longer going to be pizza or freebies handed out, hopefully, except through the Election Commission, which was mentioned. So a big thing for us is that we really, really urge every single person, every single student, because this is really important to the rest of your collegiate experience and honestly the rest of your life, that you have some kind of involvement in this election and you vote for whoever you truly believe in and what platform points you believe in.
Yeah, what he said. Thank you.
Thank you. And sorry, Cait, Jarrell.
Thank you guys for tuning in and being like voters that actually care and everything like that. So we just want to put out that we want people to come out and talk to us. So today we're outside of the student union, and we've gone to many registered student organizations and different visits like that. So we want to hear from students, and we want them to tell us, do you like this platform point? Do you agree with us with this? And we've heard very positive feedback. So we do see that there have been faults within student government. We do believe that they have gotten better every year. And I think our leadership experience on campus, not only within student government, can attest to our leadership experience and how we would be in office. We have stood up for what we believed in. We haven't always agreed with the popular decision, and we want to make sure that we are here for Knights, and we just want them to unleash their legacy.
Yes, thank you for your time. And as you said, we just want to make a vast difference in SGA because we know that we can. But definitely make an informed decision, get to know the candidates, get to know the platforms, but also know that Cait and I, we are here for the students, and we want everyone to unleash their legacy.
And what about everyone's campaign slogan? Can y'all tell us a little bit more about that, Cait and Jarrell?
Okay, so unleash your legacy, like we kind of talked about that a little bit. We want to make sure that people make their difference here at UCF, and then they take that elsewhere. So they want to go all over the world and then come back and be UCF alumni. We want them to be very proud. On the back of our shirts, you'll see your campus, your experience, and your legacy. So I've gone to many FSA meetings, which stands for Florida Student Association, collection of all student body presidents. So we've seen what has worked and what hasn't worked at other schools. And what we believe a student body president and vice president should be, you should be sticking up for your students, and you should be advocating on their behalf and enriching campus life. So we want to make sure that they recognize those things and come back and talk to us more.
Thank you. And Brian and Alex, what about your campaign slogan?
Yeah, again, our campaign slogan is a new day, a new night. And for us, that really just means, like I mentioned earlier, ushering in a new change for SGA. We think that SGA does a lot of good, but sometimes it's kind of behind the scenes and students aren't aware of what we do. And we can really bridge that gap, better promote our services, and get people involved with what we do as well. So I think that's really what our slogan means. We want to usher in, again, a new age for SGA.
We definitely want.
Richard and Mo?
Short and simple, the first word in SGA is student. We want an SGA that works for you. We want to stand for you. We want to make sure that your opinions, your values, your beliefs are upheld by the highest office through SGA. So we want to be here for you, and we're willing to stand for you.
Thank you. That's all the time we have for now. Thank you, candidates, for participating in the 2015 Nicholson debate. If you would like to see the full debate again, you can visit nightlynews.ucf.edu. You can also watch coverage of all three campaigns this Friday on Nightly News. You can catch that on Campus Cable Channel 734 at 1:30 for a full hour of coverage around campus. We would like to give a special thanks to all of the faculty, staff, and students from the Nicholson School of Communication for their assistance in today's debate. Also, a huge thank you to the Radio, Television, Digital News Association at UCF and the SGA Election Commission. From all of us here at the Nicholson School of Communication, have a great evening.